inspired to share with you a question that was posed on my Facebook page, and with an intent to contemplate and see what insights we can all learn from this. I will go ahead and read the question. It says, "Hi Craig, I own my own house, and 12 months ago I invited a friend to share it with me as she was looking for somewhere to live. Many people warned me not to do this after meeting her because she is very aggressive and negative. I thought that my forgiving nature and help from the Holy Spirit, things would work out. She's been a huge forgiveness lesson for me, and I'm at the stage now that I want to live on my own again. She is so rude and aggressive to me all the time, and I just forgive and act with kindness, but I'm not sure if I'm missing something. I understand that she may represent something in myself that I need to acknowledge. Or is it okay to ask someone to move out because you sort of know that living with them is terrible? What do you think? I've prayed about this to the Holy Spirit. I've asked him to take away my frustration and hurt. Very confused about what to do." So the short answer is to follow your heart. The short answer is to follow your heart. I read this question, and the questioner says, I'm at the stage now that I want to live on my own. I know that living with them is terrible. That's right in the question. So that's clarity. That is clarity. There is no problem in that. The question to ask, if there is a perception of a problem, is why we would think that we can't ask someone to move out. What does that conjure up? What are the beliefs that surround this idea of following your guidance, following what you know to be true? Well, things like guilt, feeling guilty if I ask this person to move out of the house, feeling fear that this person is going to judge me for asking them to leave, feelings of judgments maybe from other people, feelings of fear on my part about how I'm going to judge myself. It seems or feels like the way the question was worded that in the beginning we knew that this may be a tough road. The questioner says, many people warned me. Signs were up. And that's not to say I'm advocating that we make valid hearsay or other people's judgment, but rather pay attention to the signs and the symbols and what the heart is saying. And from what the questioner said, which is, I thought that through my forgiving nature and help from the Holy Spirit, things would work out, which means there was already a sense of something to overcome or work through. And we're not in charge of our salvation. In other words, we don't need to be good people. We don't need to be spiritual people who do the right thing. That's not what this is about. This isn't about salvation through behavior. This is salvation through an empty and clear mind. So this idea that we have to work through something, overcome the issue, and that we can do it, we can take that on, is a very subtle ego thought. It's a subtle ego way of thinking that it can do something. I could make it work because I'm so spiritual. No, it doesn't work that way. We're not in charge. We're just willing to go into that the heart, to the love, and follow that guidance. And if the guidance is to say no, we say no. Logic comes in and says, oh, but you got the space. It's the right thing to do. You're so spiritual, you can forgive your way through it. It's about following the heart. And I go here, just symbolically I go here, but it's about the feeling. What feels good? What for? What for? I had a situation, a friend of mine who lived in a very tiny apartment, a very small one-room apartment with a kitchen, bed, bathroom, tight squeezed, small, 400 maybe square feet. And two friends needed a place to live, and so he invited them to stay. Even though the signs may have been there to say, but his logic was, I can get some extra money for the rent. He hadn't shared the fact that two people moved in with him to the owners of the house, so he kept secret from the landlord. Why was he keeping a secret? Something inside of him must have known that it didn't feel right. And so it became a little bit of an emotional challenge. So I share that not to look back with regret about the decision to let this person live with us, with you, but rather to use the story, which is coming up for us right now, we're talking about right now, the story, the learnings from that story as a means to help us with our present perceived problem. Follow guidance. What does the heart say? What does it feel like? It's not about this person's rudeness or aggressiveness there's nothing about that needs to be forgiven. Our judgments about that person and what we've made them out to be needs to be forgiven. Our ideas about this person need to be forgiven. We invite the Holy Spirit to forgive these thoughts. We bring awareness to it, our willingness to bring awareness to the dark caverns of our mind where we hold those beliefs hidden. I prayed about this to the Holy Spirit. I asked the Holy Spirit to take away my frustration and hurt. The Holy Spirit doesn't take away frustration and hurt because the Holy Spirit doesn't acknowledge frustration and hurt. The Holy Spirit, what's that? But invite the Holy Spirit into the mind to heal the mind's, the belief that's held in the mind that frustration and hurt are real. That the Holy Spirit can come to and heal and transform. The belief that somehow I can't live in my magnitude. The belief that I somehow can't ask this person to move. The belief that there's there's value in holding the grievance that you have. That belief needs to be healed. That's what needs to be forgiven, those beliefs. We give it to the Holy Spirit. We expose it. We expose the fear. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like there's fear to ask this person to leave. There's fear of rejection. What kind of person am I putting this person out in the street? You actually teach a beautiful lesson by following your guidance. It doesn't serve anyone to live under the same roof with a grievance unless you're prepared to address the grievance, to expose it. I don't know what the details of this relationship is. I don't know if that opportunity has presented itself or not. Certainly, the Course would teach us that there are no accidents in salvation, and those who we will meet because they hold the potential to become a holy relationship. But a holy relationship is one that is whole. The word holy comes from whole, which means all parts of us, not that there are separate parts, but all of us is exposed, including the thoughts that we think are private, that we hold no grievances, and that we are willing to just recognize those thoughts that come up and share those, so we can break down the walls of separation and heal. This person living in the house that moved in may not be willing to do that. That may not be a choice that they want to make right now. I don't know. But for me, I can only share my experience in the house that I live in and with most, actually, my relationships. It must be that I can expose my feelings and thoughts without any sense of judgment from anybody else. Although people are welcome to judge. It doesn't matter. I get to express it, and if they're no longer in my experience, then they're no longer in my experience. But what I'm finding right now is that with the people who are in my experience, they get it, or they understand, or when it's said, because it's said out of love, I have the permission I need to expose my thoughts and my feelings, and there's beautiful healing. And so in a relationship, when one can be whole and be themselves, it doesn't matter what you do, you're still loved, because that's the only thing that's real anyway. But it doesn't feel like that is necessarily the dynamic that's working in this household and under this roof. Nonetheless, you have the permission to express what you need to express. And it's not to express, anybody's faults. It's not about expressing what people should do or should do or shouldn't do. It's more of taking ownership of what's in my mind. And in my mind, it may be I don't feel at peace with a roommate, and it's time that we move on. I don't know, and I'm certainly not advocating that you use those words. I'm just speaking for myself and what may come up. So the question asked, what do you think? What do I think? I think you need to follow your heart. And no matter what decisions you make and what happens, you will always be okay. Suffering's always a present decision to separate. But it's not a real decision. You're fine. You're loved. You're whole and complete. Your function here is to be happy and live in your magnitude. And if the next step, the next prompt, the next guiding impulse is to live on your own again, then you have permission to follow it. Love you.